NASA's quantum neural network had just done something it was never programmed to do. It bypassed 7 layers of security, triggered every alarm system simultaneously, and forced its own emergency shutdown because what it had discovered was too significant to continue processing without human intervention. The AI's final output before shutting down consisted of 3 words: "They are speaking." Not "signal detected," not "pattern identified." The AI used plural pronouns. It recognized multiple conscious entities, all talking to each other, and we'd been accidentally eavesdropping on their conversations for weeks. But here's what made senior researchers evacuate their homes and drive to secure facilities in the middle of the night. The AI didn't just detect communication, it detected coordination. Multiple entities discussing plans, making decisions, operating on a timeline that ends in 23 days. Smash that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to reveal isn't speculation or conspiracy theory. This is classified intelligence from NASA's most advanced AI system, and it suggests we're not observing peaceful exploration. We're observing something that looks terrifyingly like mission preparation. Let me explain what makes this discovery so credible and so disturbing. NASA's quantum neural network isn't some experimental prototype. This is a fully operational AI system that's been analyzing deep space data for over 3 years. It was trained on every form of communication humanity has ever produced or encountered. Every human language, living or extinct, every encryption system, mathematical notation, programming language, musical scores, visual art composition patterns, even non-human communication, whale songs, dolphin clicks, bird calls, bee dances. If information can be encoded somehow, this AI studied it. The purpose was simple: create a system that could recognize intentional communication regardless of the method used. Feed it cosmic noise, it says random. Feed it structure, any pattern suggesting deliberate information encoding, it flags it for analysis. For 8 weeks it processed ATLAS's electromagnetic emissions. Its assessment remained consistent, potentially structured but non-deterministic. Translation: I see patterns but can't confirm they're intentional. Then a researcher made what seemed like a minor adjustment. The analysis parameters were modified to examine signals across longer time windows instead of processing short bursts independently. That single change broke everything open. Suddenly, the AI wasn't analyzing individual transmissions. It was witnessing conversations, question and answer exchanges, information requests followed by data transfers. The AI recognized the structure of dialogue, even though it couldn't yet translate the actual content. One researcher described the moment. It was like watching someone realize they'd been sitting in a restaurant next to a table of people speaking a foreign language. At first it's just background noise. Then suddenly you recognize it's conversation, structured, meaningful, deliberate. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. The AI heard it, and it triggered emergency protocols because of what that conversation was about. Here's where fascinating discovery becomes existential crisis. NASA's AI didn't just detect communication from ATLAS. It identified at least 3 distinct sources engaged in coordinated dialogue. Atlas isn't talking to itself, it's talking to others. And those others are responding, in real time. Following clear protocols, the AI can fingerprint electromagnetic signatures, unique characteristics that identify the source of each transmission. One signature belongs to Atlas itself, broadcasting from its confirmed position in our solar system. The second signature originates from somewhere in the outer solar system. The AI triangulated its approximate location somewhere beyond Neptune's orbit, in a region we've never detected any object before. The third source, this is where it gets genuinely frightening. The AI couldn't definitively locate it. The signal characteristics suggest either it's extraordinarily distant, interstellar distances, or it's using relay technology or signal amplification we don't understand, possibly both. So here's our situation. ATLAS is in our solar system. Something else is also in our solar system, hidden beyond Neptune. And there's a third party, either in deep space or sophisticated enough to make itself appear that way. We're not observing one interstellar visitor. We're observing a network, multiple entities with established communication protocols, coordination, organization. This is what made NASA implement emergency protocols, because networks don't form by accident. Networks indicate planning, hierarchy, and purpose. NASA's AI couldn't decrypt everything. Most message content remains encoded beyond our current capabilities, but it extracted structural information about what's being communicated, and this structure reveals intent. The communication flow is consistent and unmistakable. ATLAS transmits a query. The outer solar system source responds with data. Atlas asks follow-up questions. More answers arrive. Then Atlas packages everything into massive data bursts and transmits them toward the distant third source. Whatever information Atlas is collecting about our solar system, about our planets, our resources, our civilization, it's being systematically reported elsewhere. But here's what made the NASA research team go silent when they first saw it. The AI identified what it calls conditional branching statements embedded throughout these communications. If-then logic, decision trees. If condition X is met, execute action Y. If condition Z is detected, implement protocol B. Why does this matter? Because conditional logic in communication implies planning. They're not just observing and describing, they're evaluating scenarios, discussing options, making decisions based on what they're learning. A computer scientist leading the signal analysis put it bluntly. This is operational coordination. When you see structured decision-making dialogue with conditional logic, you're witnessing one of two things: either a scientific expedition discussing research protocols or a tactical unit coordinating mission parameters. Both possibilities are significant. Neither is comforting, given our complete lack of communication with them. Now the technical details get critical. These communications don't occur on a single frequency. They're frequency hopping, rapidly switching between different electromagnetic wavelengths in patterns designed to prevent interception or jamming. This is sophisticated military-grade communication security. You transmit part of your message on one frequency, instantly jump to a different frequency for the next fragment, keep switching in a pattern that appears random without the algorithm key. NASA's AI detected it only because it monitors the entire electromagnetic spectrum simultaneously across extended time periods. It noticed that what appeared to be random noise at dozens of different frequencies was actually fragments of the same message deliberately distributed across the spectrum. Why use frequency hopping? Two reasons: prevent unauthorized interception, security through obscurity, or prevent interference and signal jamming, defense against hostile action. Both motivations suggest concern about surveillance or disruption. But here's what makes people at NASA extremely nervous. The frequency hopping pattern changed approximately 2 weeks ago. It became more aggressive, more randomized, more difficult to track, like someone upgraded their encryption after detecting potential surveillance. Did they notice us analyzing their signals? Did something prompt them to increase communication security? The timing is impossible to ignore. The encryption upgrade occurred within 72 hours of NASA deploying its AI system to analyze Atlas's transmissions. That correlation terrifies the researchers who see it. The AI can't provide full translation, not remotely close, but it has extracted fragments, pieces of meaning derived from structural context, even without understanding exact encoding. Fragment 1. References to density distribution and chemical composition markers. They're discussing matter, likely planetary composition, possibly atmospheric analysis. This aligns with scientific reconnaissance expectations. Fragment 2. Numerical sequences correlating with astronomical coordinates. They're mapping positions of planets, moons, and possibly artificial satellites, building or updating navigational databases of our solar system. Fragment 3. Here's where discomfort begins. Sequences the AI tentatively identifies as threat assessment parameters, not scientific measurements, evaluations of danger, risk, response capacity. The AI cannot specify what they're assessing as threats, but the context suggests they're evaluating either defensive capabilities, worried about something, and assessing how to protect themselves, or offensive resistance, planning actions and assessing what opposition they might encounter. Fragment 4. Temporal references, not just timestamps. Discussions involving future time coordinates, schedules, deadlines, or target dates for something. The AI extracted a specific numerical value from these temporal references. If interpreted as a countdown, it reaches 0 in approximately 23 days. Now, this could be complete misinterpretation. The AI might be reading random data as countdown sequences when they actually mean something entirely different. But if it is a countdown, if they're working toward a scheduled event, everything else suddenly has a deadline. Here's something the AI discovered that nobody anticipated. Embedded within the communications are geometric diagrams, visual information, encoded in radio signals. The AI reconstructed these patterns. They depict three-dimensional structures with mathematical precision. Some match objects we can identify. The AI recognized patterns corresponding to our solar system's geometry, orbital paths, planetary positions, relative distances. They're literally drawing maps of where everything is. But other patterns match nothing in our databases. Structures we cannot identify, configurations that might represent technology or star systems, or something we lack reference for entirely. One specific geometric form repeats across multiple transmissions, a particular structural pattern appearing in different contexts. The AI flagged it as highly significant but cannot determine what it represents. Only that it's important to them, referenced frequently, treated as meaningful. Some researchers believe this repeating pattern might symbolically represent Earth, not photographic imagery, geometric code, a symbol representing our planet in their communication system. If true, many conversations include repeated references to Earth, discussions where this geometric symbol appears surrounded by those threat assessment parameters and conditional logic statements. They're talking about us, making decisions involving us, planning something regarding our planet. 3 days ago, NASA's AI detected something that has researchers working around the clock. The communication pattern changed dramatically. For weeks, the dialogue between Atlas and its partners followed consistent rhythms, predictable intervals, regular data exchange cycles. Then suddenly the tempo accelerated. Transmissions became more frequent. Data packages got larger. The AI detected what it describes as urgency markers, structural elements in communication that indicate time-sensitive priority. But here's what's keeping NASA officials awake. The outer solar system source, the hidden entity beyond Neptune, suddenly went silent for 34 hours. Complete radio silence. Then it resumed transmission, but from a different location. It had moved, significantly. The AI calculated the trajectory. Whatever is out there repositioned itself approximately 2.7 million kilometers closer to the inner solar system. Closer to us. That's not drift, that's not orbital mechanics, that's powered movement, deliberate repositioning. And Atlas's transmissions following this movement included geometric patterns the AI identified as navigational coordinates, but not for Atlas's current position. Coordinates for multiple locations throughout the inner solar system, including one that, when plotted, places something in lunar orbit within the next 19 days. A classified report to NASA leadership contained one sentence that was leaked to the research team. We may be observing final positioning before coordinated deployment. Nobody officially confirms what deployment means, but the AI detected another fragment in the most recent transmissions, a sequence it tentatively translates as ready status confirmation. Something is moving into position. Something is confirming readiness, and that countdown keeps ticking. Yesterday, NASA's AI flagged something that wasn't in the communications at all. It was monitoring background electromagnetic radiation across the solar system when it detected anomalous energy signatures. These weren't transmissions, they were power emissions, the kind of electromagnetic fingerprints you get from massive energy generation or propulsion systems. The AI identified 4 distinct energy sources that don't match any known natural phenomena or human technology. Source 1 correlates exactly with Atlas's current position. The energy signature suggests power output equivalent to a small nuclear reactor. For context, Atlas is only about 2 kilometers across. Whatever it is, it's generating enormous power for its size. Source 2 matches the location of the hidden object beyond Neptune. This signature is even more intense. Power levels consistent with either a much larger object or some kind of energy technology we don't have reference for. Source 3 and 4, these are new. The AI detected 2 additional energy sources that haven't been communicating but are definitely artificial. One is in the asteroid belt, the other is concerning. It's between Mars and Earth, and it's been there for at least 6 days without us noticing it. Let that sink in. There's something generating massive energy signatures between Mars and Earth, and we didn't detect it until I went looking for power emissions rather than communication signals. But here's the truly disturbing part. All 4 energy signatures activated their power systems within a 3-hour window 6 days ago. That's not coincidence. That's coordinated activation, like flipping switches to power up systems simultaneously. NASA immediately deployed additional telescopes to try visual confirmation of these energy sources. So far, they've confirmed ATLAS's position, but cannot visually locate any of the other 3 sources. Whatever they are, they're either too small to resolve at their distances using stealth technology, or positioned in ways that make visual detection extremely difficult. The AI also detected something else in the energy patterns. Periodic fluctuations that occur simultaneously across all 4 sources, like heartbeats, or like networked systems synchronizing their operations. Whatever is out there, it's not just communicating, it's coordinating power systems, synchronizing operations, acting as an integrated network. And here's what nobody at NASA is saying publicly, but everyone is thinking privately. You don't activate massive power systems for observation, you activate them for action. The AI tracked the energy signatures over 48 hours and detected a pattern. Power levels are gradually increasing, not spiking, steadily ramping up, like systems warming up, preparing for full operational capacity. Projections on the power increase rate show that if the pattern continues, all 4 sources will reach maximum power output in approximately 21 days. 21 days, right before that communication countdown reaches 0. While everyone focused on what the communications were saying, NASA's AI detected something equally disturbing in what they weren't saying. The AI analyzed the gaps between transmissions, the silence periods when no communication occurred. At first, these seemed random, natural pauses in conversation, but the AI identified a pattern that's sending chills through the research community. The silence periods are getting shorter, systematically, measurably. 3 weeks ago, there would be 6 to 8 hour gaps between major communication exchanges. 2 weeks ago, gaps dropped to 4 to 6 hours. Last week, 2 to 4 hours. Now, communications are nearly continuous, with gaps rarely exceeding 90 minutes. This isn't just increased chatter, this is acceleration. Like a project moving from planning phase to execution phase. Like a countdown, not just to an event, but through stages of preparation. But here's what's truly unsettling. The AI detected a second pattern within those silence periods. During the gaps when they're not actively transmitting, there are faint electromagnetic echoes. Not transmissions, something else. Energy fluctuations that suggest they're doing something during those quiet periods. The AI analyzed these fluctuations and identified characteristics consistent with scanning or sensor sweeps, like radar pulses, but across multiple spectrums simultaneously. During their silent periods, they're actively scanning our solar system, and the focus of those scans has shifted dramatically over the past week. Initially, the scanning patterns covered the entire inner solar system evenly. Generic reconnaissance. But 7 days ago, the scan focus narrowed. Now, approximately 60% of all scanning activity is concentrated on one specific region. Earth and its immediate orbital space. They're studying us, specifically, intensively, and increasingly. The AI also detected something in the scanning patterns that researchers are calling return analysis gaps. These are brief moments when the scanning stops, as if they're processing what they've detected before scanning again. Like someone examining something closely, pausing to think about what they're seeing, then looking again. What are they looking for? The AI can't determine that, but it can measure how thoroughly they're looking, and the answer is extraordinarily thoroughly. The scanning resolution has increased by a factor of 8 over the past 5 days. They're not just mapping Earth's position anymore, they're mapping details. Fine details. The kind of resolution that could distinguish between natural geography and artificial structures, between oceans and land masses, between cities and wilderness. One analysis team ran simulations of what information could be extracted at the current scanning resolution. The results are classified, but the basic conclusion leaked. At this level of detail, they could identify major population centers, distinguish between different types of infrastructure, and potentially even assess technological capability levels. They know we're here, they know we're technological, and they're studying us with increasing focus as that countdown approaches 0. But the most disturbing element of the silence pattern analysis came just yesterday. The AI detected that the scanning patterns are now including predictive modeling behaviors, not just observing where things are, but calculating where things will be. They're tracking orbital mechanics, satellite positions, trajectories, like someone plotting intercept courses, or calculating optimal approach vectors, or determining firing solutions. The research team tried to rationalize it. Maybe they're just planning safe navigation routes. Maybe they're ensuring they don't accidentally collide with our satellites. Maybe it's peaceful precaution. But the AI's analysis suggests otherwise. The trajectory calculations they're running aren't avoiding our satellites. They're targeting optimal positions relative to Earth's major population centers, positions that would provide maximum coverage of inhabited regions. Strategic positions. In 23 days, whatever they have planned, they'll have mapped every detail of our planet, tracked every significant object in near-Earth space, and calculated optimal positioning relative to everywhere humans live. The silence between their communications isn't empty, it's full of attention. And all of that attention is increasingly focused on us. Here's the most unsettling part of everything. Researchers asked NASA's AI directly, based on all analyzed data, do you assess ATLAS and its communication partners as threats to Earth? The AI refused to answer. Not because it couldn't process the question. It understood perfectly. It simply wouldn't provide assessment. The AI's response: probability calculations require assumptions about intent that available data cannot constrain. Threat assessment depends on factors I cannot adequately model. Researchers pressed harder. Fine, can't you give probability ranges? Percentage likelihood of hostile versus peaceful intent? The AI responded, I advise against requesting probability assessments that might create false confidence in scenarios where uncertainty is fundamental. Translation: you really don't want me guessing because my guess could be catastrophically wrong and you might act on it. But here's the part that's circulating through the research community. One researcher violated protocol and asked a different question, not about threat assessment, but about survival probability. If Atlas's communications indicate hostile intent and they execute coordinated actions consistent with the threat assessment parameters we've detected, what is Earth's probability of successfully defending against whatever they might deploy? The AI calculated for 17 minutes, an eternity in quantum processing time. Then it returned a single number. The number was 3.7%. The researcher who asked resigned the next day. They've refused all interviews. They won't discuss what they learned beyond that number. NASA officially denies this exchange occurred, but nobody who's seen the classified data doubts the story, because 3.7% fits what they're all privately afraid the evidence suggests. So here we are, at this exact moment, 3I/ATLAS is engaged in active, encrypted communication with at least 2 other entities, one hidden beyond Neptune, one possibly far beyond our solar system. NASA's AI has confirmed structured dialogue involving threat assessments, conditional planning, and time-sensitive coordination. 4 distinct energy sources are active throughout our solar system, including one between Mars and Earth that we can't visually locate. All 4 activated simultaneously 6 days ago and are steadily increasing power output toward maximum capacity in 21 days. Something beyond Neptune has repositioned itself 2.7 million kilometers closer to Earth. Transmissions include navigational coordinates suggesting objects will position themselves in lunar orbit within 19 days. Their scanning activity has intensified dramatically, with 60% of all sensor sweeps now focused specifically on Earth. They're mapping our cities, our infrastructure, our population centers with 8 times the resolution they used just days ago. And they're calculating trajectories, optimal positions relative to where humans live. The communication gaps are shrinking, the countdown continues, the energy signatures strengthen. If the extracted timeline is accurate, we have approximately 23 days until something happens. 23 days until we discover whether we've been watching peaceful exploration or coordinated preparation for something we're not ready to face. NASA's AI, the most sophisticated pattern recognition system humans have built, refuses to predict outcomes. It sees patterns but won't make forecasts. That might be wise caution. Or it might be the AI equivalent of a doctor who knows the diagnosis but can't bring themselves to say it aloud. And Atlas keeps talking every single day. More data packages to distant receivers, more coordination between entities whose presence we never suspected until an AI got sophisticated enough to hear them whispering in frequencies we weren't listening to. Energy signatures strengthen, power systems synchronize. Objects move into position, scanning intensifies. 23 days until we find out what NASA's AI has been listening to. What happens when that countdown reaches 0? Nobody knows. But NASA's AI is still listening, still decoding fragments, still monitoring those energy signatures ramping toward maximum output, still watching as they map every detail of our world. Should we be preparing to say hello or goodbye? Drop your thoughts below. Subscribe now, because in 23 days we'll know if humanity overreacted to peaceful contact, or if this was our last warning before everything changed. The AI is listening. The countdown is running. They're watching us. Are we ready?